Hi, I'm Dan Hale. I'm an account executive at Cambridge. I'd like to talk to you today about liability insurance and how much is enough. Oftentimes I get this question from my client where they call me up and they say, Dan, I've got $1 million in liability insurance. Do I need an umbrella policy? Is $1 million enough? That's a tough question for me to answer as an account executive, but my answer is always this: what do you stand to lose? And then from there we have a conversation about what are your assets, what are the different things you could lose if you had a lawsuit brought against you. So I think the first step in answering this question is to understand what a judgment is. A judgment is simply an order from a court or a judge that says you owe someone else money. Oftentimes that's in the context of a tort. A tort means you hurt someone else and they're suing you to have damages paid. So if you have a judgment brought against you, that really is the trial portion of a lawsuit. After the judgment is entered, it's up to the plaintiff to try and find ways to collect that money from you. That's known as the collection phase. There are many tools that a plaintiff's attorney can use in collecting their money. One of them is a garnishment. A garnishment simply is the plaintiff's attorney filing a document with the court that allows them to take your money before it gets to you, like from your paycheck, from your tax return, things like that. The second form that they can use is a lien, which they'll find out where your property is and they'll enter a document with the court, which then gives them an interest in the document even though you're not going to sell it right now. And the third way is through a forced sale, where a plaintiff can actually get an order from the court, come to your house, collect all of your personal property, and then auction it off, leaving you with nothing. So that is really what a judgment is, and you can now understand what you stand to lose if you get a judgment and a plaintiff pursues collection from you. So that leads us back to the original question: how much liability insurance is enough? And I ask you, what do you stand to lose? So as an individual, you may stand to lose your house, your personal property, your cash in your bank accounts, all sorts of things. Maybe you're not a very collectible individual. Maybe you don't have a lot of these things, don't have cash in the banks or lots of property. You can still lose out because plaintiffs can get your future assets, which means if you win the lottery in 5 years, you're not going to get any of that money. It's going to go to this plaintiff. It also means that your future wages. If I have $1 million judgment entered against me, I could carry that judgment the rest of my life, and maybe 30 or 40% of my wages could be redirected to the plaintiff before I even receive my paycheck. As far as businesses go, you also stand to lose if you have an LLC or a corporation with a lot of assets, if you own a building, if your operation has significant revenues. But at the same time, you may have an LLC that's not collectible at all. You have no assets or operations. Essentially, those are referred to as shell LLCs. So you have to ask yourself, how collectible are you? The next question that comes up is $1 million enough? Well, you can buy umbrella limits and extra $1 million limits as high as you want to go. We have some clients with $100 million limits on their umbrellas. We have some clients with just $1 million umbrella. The question is, what do you think the verdict is going to be, and is that limit going to sufficiently reflect what you have on your policy? So in the case of, let's just say, a simple auto accident where you hurt someone, they get a judgment against you for, let's say, $700,000, and your auto policy only has $500,000, $200,000 is going to come from somewhere. It's not necessary that the plaintiff will settle that case with you after they receive a judgment. There's no need for them to. So that $200,000 will come out of your cash assets. The second point is, what happens when you have a policy maybe with a $2 million limit and the plaintiff's attorney maybe wants to enter into settlement negotiations? Some insureds will think, well, $2 million will be more than enough. Any plaintiff attorney in their right mind would just accept that limit, and anything that I buy over $2 million is just padding their pockets. It's just paying off the plaintiff's attorney. That's not always true. Our special report on this issue, Michigan's largest jury verdicts, goes over all of the verdicts that we've had in the past 14 years in the state of Michigan that are generally around $1 million or higher. And you can see that there are a significant number of cases which have exceeded $1 million, and many more have exceeded $2 million. The largest verdict, I think, was in Macomb County. It was $56 million just a few years ago, and that plaintiff did not even die. So it's possible to have jury verdicts well in excess of your limit, and plaintiffs' attorneys are not quick to just settle a case when they know they can get more by way of a judgment. So let me leave you with this. When you are assessing your liability limits, take a minute to determine what is your exposure, how much do you stand to lose, and then size that up against what you have in terms of coverage and the cost to increase your limits. I encourage you to review our special reports on these issues related to liability insurance, particularly the two special reports dealing with Michigan's largest jury verdicts, and secondly, how much liability insurance is enough. Thank you.